Should you buy the Airbnb IPO? Okay, in this video, guys, so here we are on Yahoo Finance. So I really don't have a stock chart for Airbnb, but I will tell you this: it will trade under the ticker symbol ABNB on the NASDAQ on Thursday. So that gives us a little bit of time to figure out whether or not we should buy into this IPO. So let's just get right into it, guys. First off, I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys a background on the IPO, and then I'm going to give you guys what the company's been doing so far this year in response to the pandemic, and give you my personal what I'm going to do with the stock. So as you can see here, we take a look here at this article. It talks about the Airbnb IPO. So let's break this down. So companies basically go IPO. They want to basically take their shares to the market, and a lot of insiders that bought, helped Airbnb with funding and raising capital in the past, they're looking to cash out. So now you got all these people that are willing to sell the shares to the public and basically trade this stock on the exchange to kind of see, if they can grow their wealth. Because companies are obviously going to be worth, most likely going to be worth a lot more being publicly traded. Look at Apple and Tesla than if these companies are kept private. So with this IPO, it's valued at around $56 to $60 per share. That was increased, which is a good sign. It looks like there's plenty of demand, and the total diluted valuation is around $42 billion. So if you take $42 billion and divide it by 60, that's around 700 million shares outstanding. So guys, that means that nearly the number of shares offered will be around 51 million. The rest of those shares will be held by insiders, owners, private equity investors, and things like that. So now let's talk a little bit about the company's valuation, because this company really struggled during the pandemic. Travel companies got absolutely crushed, and that's one of the reasons why I think a lot of people are leaning towards more digital companies, because these digital companies, companies like Zoom, Netflix, things like that, Snowflake, these companies are going to do well no matter whether they're lockdowns or not. So as you can see here, let's take a look at some of those numbers. So as we can see here, Airbnb is doing so far through Q1 to Q3, it did about 2.5 billion. So that we can extrapolate that number, let's just approximate it. Obviously, we could say they're doing just over $3 billion in revenue, which would put this IPO at a price to sales ratio of just 14 to 15. So no, not too bad. So far in 2020, the company's done over 17.9 billion in gross bookings, and that's down 40% from the year prior. So the question is, will Airbnb be able to bounce back? Because as you can see here, according to Perspective, it says in early 2020, as COVID-19 disrupted travel across the world, Airbnb's business significantly declined. But within 2 months, our business model started to rebound, even with limited international travel, demonstrating its resilience. People wanted to get out of their homes, the company added, but they didn't want to stay in hotels. Its domestic travel rebounded quickly and was affected by the number of people opting to work remotely from an Airbnb rather than their homes. So it says, we believe that the lines between travel and living are blurring, and the global pandemic has only accelerated the ability to live anywhere. So really, what's going on with this stock? So let's talk a little bit more about where I think that this IPO is going. So I think a lot of people are excited about this IPO. It's definitely going to be one of the biggest ones this year. At around $60 at a price sales ratio of like 15, with revenue substantially dropping, you're basically buying this stock assuming that after vaccines are released that the company's going to bounce back. But obviously the company has not been profitable and revenue is down a ton. So the question is, when are bookings going to rebound? Because in 2018 to 2019, bookings absolutely skyrocketed, and in 2020 they fell off a cliff. So my personal suggestion would be, it's really up to you on what you want to do with Airbnb. This IPO seems pretty similar to Uber. When Uber IPO'd in 2019, it was priced at, I believe, $46, and the stock absolutely tanked. But eventually it came back. So, I definitely think there's going to be a lot of excitement. I would say personally, it's really up to you. I think the travel industry isn't going to rebound for a while. It's not going to rebound for at least another year or so. Obviously, I'm optimistic about vaccines, but really, how long is it going to take until people are comfortable traveling again at full capacity? So if we take a look at some of those airline companies like Delta and United and Continental, even the cruise stocks, Carnival and Royal Caribbean, most of those CEOs said things won't go back to normal until 2022, 2023. So if you're buying this IPO and you're trying to make, some quick gains on it, I don't really know, because, obviously I think there's better bets out here. I think you can look at EV stocks, you can look at digital stocks, you can look at some of these newer IPOs like Palantir and things like that. I think there's just more upside simply because this company makes all of their money on gross bookings. So, Airbnb is so one-dimensional. It's not like Tesla, where Tesla's making money off regulatory tax credits, EV sales, solar panels. Airbnb is so dependent on bookings. It's like Uber. Uber makes money off bookings, and Airbnb makes money off bookings. So if we kind of look at what happened previously with Uber stock, so obviously I could be extrapolating things a bit here, but I think it's a worthy comparison. Uber, another gross booking stock, it IPO'd, and the IPO was just too expensive. So I ended up buying Uber at the IPO because this was a company that I was going to be investing in the next 5, 10, 20 years because I use Uber all the time. I'm very familiar with the product. It's an app that probably one of the most used apps on my phone. So I wanted to invest in the company, and I like Uber's business model on how they can basically move things and transport things around, yourself included, around town. So this is a similar thing with Airbnb. If you're traveling anywhere to a new city or a new country, you can look on Airbnb and find a lot of nice places to stay. And it's basically the king of the gig economy when it comes to, whether you're actually staying in a place or you're hosting people yourself. So I think the brand is strong, and I think that it's a good stock to hold over the long term. But I don't know if it's the best stock to hold now if you're looking for quick upside, because this stock is going to basically be trading almost 100% on basically pandemic news. So as more lockdowns increase, Airbnb's revenue is going to plummet. This isn't a company like Uber where, okay, there's lockdown, so now we're delivering food because you can't ride an Uber. If there's lockdowns, Airbnb's not making money because no one's traveling. So it's a high risk company. Obviously, they're doing an IPO now. It's a bit sketchy. I'm just kind of trying to wonder if they're trying to cash out now. I don't really know, because a lot of times with these big companies, they try to IPO, they're looking to dump their shares, take their profits and move it into a different business or something like that. And that's exactly what we saw with Uber stock. The co-founder ended up, dumping a lot of his shares, and then he went off and started his own company. And it took Uber over a year for the stock price just to even rebound from its IPO levels. So I really think if you're going to buy this, I think if you can get it at $60, buy it, but definitely be prepared to hold Uber for a while. Do not expect this stock to soar if we have more pandemic headwinds. So if the vaccines get slowed down or cases increase, these are two horrible things for Airbnb stock. So me personally, I'm not going to be buying the Airbnb IPO. Maybe that's a mistake. But right now, I'm looking to, take the funds that I do have. I'm looking at other stocks that I think have more upside longer term, and absolutely right now, because I'm 100% sure mostly stocks like Uber and ChargePoint, eHang. I'm really starting to shift more of my portfolio into the EV sector. Not too much. I still have, it's not more than like 20 or 25%. But I want to kind of put my money in those companies now because I think those stocks are grossly undervalued. EV is huge. And if you guys have been following my channel right now, I'm not just interested in EV stocks because they've been going up. I'm interested in EV stocks because, like, literally you have millions and millions of vehicles all over the world that need to be replaced. So it's just guaranteed to make you profits if you're choosing the right stocks. Or if you're buying a stock like ChargePoint, someone has to charge them. But a stock like Airbnb, all these headwinds and things like that, I mean, maybe the IPO dips, I don't know. So I would say proceed with some caution here. Do your own research. If you use the platform yourself, by all means buy it, but be ready to hold it. I wouldn't, if you bought it at like 60 and then it goes up and then it crashes, like don't just panic sell your shares. Be willing to hold for a while, because a lot of times it does take a year or two for these IPOs to rebound. That's exactly what happened with eHang. eHang ended up IPOing at $12 and it took over almost a year for the stock price to recover. So IPOs are generally expensive, guys. Me personally, I'm going to be staying away from Airbnb IPO. Really interesting to see what happens with this stock. If it goes up to around 65 or 70, I might dabble, but in the past, these kind of gross booking stocks, I've seen the IPOs from. So I think you can get Airbnb stock much cheaper next year, as those pandemic cases start to ramp up. I think people are going to be dumping this stock a little bit, but that's just my personal opinion. So let me know what you guys think about the IPO if you're going to end up buying it. To give you guys a quick rundown on what's going to happen, this stock's going to be trading under the ticker symbol ABNB, and they're going to go public. 700 million shares outstanding. It's your chance to get a stake in Airbnb if you guys are interested in this company. So that's it until next time, guys. Be sure to smash the like button and hit the red subscribe button to receive more videos From me personally, I cover all of these stocks, new IPOs, EV stocks, basically hot stocks in good sectors that are going to grow. And if you want to see what stocks I'm following every day, you can click the link in the description below, or grab my daily stock watch newsletter, guys, by going to investortrip.com/newsletter. So that's it. Until next time, guys. Take care.